about this in what is the most ruthless move a WNBA team has made this year. In what is the single most ruthless move a team has made. What the Valkyries did with Julie Van Loo is mental. It is absolutely mental.
The WNBA is unraveling in front of our eyes, and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is just standing there watching the chaos unfold. This was supposed to be the golden era, the Caitlin Clark era, where ratings soared and arenas filled up. But instead of safeguarding the momentum, the league is greenlighting some of the most cold-blooded, tone-deaf decisions imaginable. It's not just mismanagement, it's sabotage. Now, fans who once brought the energy are threatening to walk away entirely, because when a league won't protect its biggest draw, why should anyone stick around to support the fallout?
Basically, Van Loo went overseas to play in a Euro tournament for Belgium, right? And basically ended up winning with Emma. And instead of celebrating and being with her fans and family, she tried to hurry up and rush back to the Valkyries. So she got right on the flight, skipped the celebration, and midair, not even landing just yet, heard the news that she was waived from the Valkyries, man.
Let's break down what just happened with Julie Van Loo and the Golden State Valkyries. Because this isn't just a poor front office move, it's pure heartlessness disguised as strategy. Van Loo had just led Belgium to a Eurobasket championship, the pinnacle of European women's basketball. It's a career-defining moment, the stuff legends are made of. And how does the WNBA reward her? By showing her the door. Cold doesn't even begin to cover it.
Okay, so Eurobasket, or the European Basketball Championship, is a big deal. It is whoever wins immediately qualifies for the 2026 World Cup next year. And the Golden State Valkyries particularly had a lot of players take a break from playing in the W to go play in that European Championship, including Julie Van Loo, who plays for Belgium. This is part of their contract, very normal. Julie Van Loo goes to Europe, and Belgium casually wins the whole tournament. Meanwhile, stateside, the Golden State Valkyries, without Julie Van Loo, are having a very successful period of games.
Van Loo wasn't just a passenger on Belgium's historic run. She was a key engine, earning all-tournament second-team honors with averages of 9.8 points, 5.3 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. She was living a dream on the global stage. But rather than bask in the glory with her teammates, rather than revel in the once-in-a-lifetime celebration of a Eurobasket championship, Van Loo chose duty over joy. She left the victory parade behind. She skipped the champagne and the confetti, all to honor her commitment to the WNBA. And how was she repaid? With a pink slip.
They waived her while she was on a plane. Not only that, her team, Belgium, the Belgian national team, had a whole bunch of celebrations. They had a whole bunch of celebrations for winning Eurobasket. So she won an international competition with Belgium, which is bigger than any WNBA championship. For them, anyway. For her, it's bigger than winning a WNBA championship. She won. And not only that, they won it in a historic comeback. Spain were up 12 points with 3 minutes to go.
Why did she skip it all? Because she believed she had a team worth coming back to. Julie Van Loo thought the Golden State Valkyries were waiting for her, that her spot in the WNBA was secure. Fresh off an emotional, exhausting Eurobasket title run, she boarded one of the longest flights on Earth, drained, sore, and sleep-deprived, just to make it back in time. 18 hours later, she touched down in San Francisco, expecting a locker room, teammates, and a jersey. What she got instead? A cold shoulder and a contract termination.
Tough business. Man, some nasty work there. And I get it, it's a business. You have to do what you have to do. But fam, you couldn't even allow her to get back to the facility. You couldn't even allow her to touch down in the bay before you let her go. My goodness, fam. I mean, have a heart. Where's the 5 heartbeats when you need them, man? Oh my goodness.
She was thrilled, buzzing with energy, eager to reunite with her teammates and bring that championship fire to the Valkyries. You could see it in her posts. That fleeting joy of a player fresh off a European title, hungry to make her mark in the WNBA. But that high didn't last. Reality came crashing down like a freight train, and with it, the harsh truth. There was no homecoming waiting for her.
Oh, Velu got cut?
As soon as she stepped off the plane, bro.
For real? Shut up. It's like when stuff like this happen, bro, it really sink in, like, bro, this really a business though at the end of the day. Like, you feel me? Like, this really a business. Like, and you gotta treat it as such, bro. Like, you can't really, you gotta get out your feelings, bro.
That's why it's hard to get comfortable anywhere though.
Nah, that's
you don't
facts.
know. You don't never know.
You literally, and you always gotta stay on your P's and Q's, cause at the end of the day, like, you got a job just like somebody else got a job, just like somebody else got a job.
If you are enjoying, please leave a like and subscribe our channel. Here's the part that should make every single person sick to their stomach. Julie Van Loo didn't find out she was released through a phone call from management. She didn't get pulled aside for a respectful conversation. She didn't even get a text message. She found out on social media. Van Loo wrote on Instagram, "Literally just touched down in the Bay. I need some time to process all of this and put my feelings into words. I can't right now." That's not the reaction of someone who saw this coming. That's the reaction of someone whose world just got turned upside down while she was standing in an airport, probably still wearing the clothes she flew in, probably still high on the adrenaline of being a European champion.
Celebration in a parade, and Julie posted on her story the video they played of her because she couldn't be there because she was flying back to the States, and she said, "I love you, Belgium. I wish I was there." She posts that she made it to the States, back in Fog City, a heart around the arena. And then the next post is that she's been cut from the team. Literally just touched down in the Bay, need to kind of process all of this and put my feelings into words. I can't right now, with some heartbreaking emojis. So why would they do this? Business is business. I'm not really talking about cutting her. The decision they made is the decision they made. They feel like they can move forward without her on the team, but why let her come all the way back to the States before letting her know? And the answer appears to be, from what I've seen from a couple different people online, that if the Valkyries had cut her when she was in Europe, she would have lost her work visa and not been able to make it back to the States. But when they cut her when she's stateside, she has a bubble of time to still have that work visa and hopefully be picked up by another team. And while that technically makes sense, it's very obvious from these stories that she wasn't told that before she got here. You think?
This is where we need to talk about Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, because this disaster happened on her watch. The woman who's supposed to be protecting the integrity of the league, who's supposed to ensure that players are treated with basic human decency, was nowhere to be found when one of her players was getting absolutely demolished by her own team. Engelbert has been commissioner since 2019, and under her leadership, the WNBA has seen unprecedented growth, thanks almost entirely to Caitlin Clark. The league is pulling in viewership numbers that were unthinkable just 2 years ago. When Clark plays, games average 1.81 million viewers. When she doesn't, that number drops to 847,000, devastating 53% plummet that represents nearly 1 million fewer viewers per game. So here's the question. If you're running a league that's entirely dependent on fan engagement and public perception, how do you let a story like Julie Van Loo happen? How do you allow one of your franchises to treat a player like she's disposable garbage?
The way Julie Van Loo was done, she literally left Euroball immediately after her win and got on a plane back to the Bay Area and was talking about her travel plans on her Instagram story. And literally had just touched down in the Bay when they posted about her being waived. And so I'm curious to get an understanding as to how someone is literally flying from Europe back to America and you tell them that they're being waived when they get here. I understand that this was bound to happen based off of players going, coming, so on and so forth, but I think the way we're going about it is not very humanly. And maybe these players understand just based off of how the WNBA is, but it's just very interesting that the Valkyries are going at it about this way.
The basketball world didn't stay quiet about this travesty. Emma Mieseman, Van Loo's teammate on the Belgian national team and the 2019 WNBA Finals MVP, absolutely went off on the Valkyries. She wrote, "Nah, making her miss a unique moment in Belgium is crazy." But that was just the public comment. Behind the scenes, you can bet she was telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought about a league that treats its players like robots instead of human beings. WNBA analyst Dani Barlavi didn't hold back either. Simply put, you as an organization cannot allow this to happen. Van Loo skipped celebrating the Eurobasket championship with Belgium to report to the Valks, only to be cut upon re-entering the country. She should have been home. She should have been with her teammates. So unacceptable.
Until you get off that plane, you have not technically entered the country. You have not technically entered the country until you set foot off that plane. Until you get through immigration. So if it's a visa thing, if it was like, oh, you know, her visa's been cancelled, I don't think there's pre-clearance wherever she was coming from. She had to go through immigration anyway. So the reality is, she probably lost the visa anyway. If she was going to lose the visa, if they had to cut her before she left, they cut her before she got into the country. So, like, it makes no difference then.
Here's what makes this whole situation even more maddening. The WNBA has the biggest draw in sports history in Caitlin Clark. This woman single-handedly saved the league from obscurity. She's filling arenas that were half empty just 2 years ago. She's making the WNBA appointment television. When Clark gets injured, the entire league's viewership drops by 55%. That's not just a dip. That's a complete collapse. It proves that the WNBA is basically the Caitlin Clark show, with some supporting characters. So if you have that kind of golden goose, if you have a player who literally determines whether your league lives or dies, how do you justify letting franchises treat other players like expendable commodities? How do you risk the public relations nightmare of stories like Julie Van Loo getting out? The Valkyries and their defenders will tell you this was all about roster limits. NBA only allows 12 players per team compared to the NBA's 15. They'll say their hands were tied, that tough decisions had to be made, but here's the thing. They knew this situation was coming. They knew Van Loo and other European players would be leaving for Eurobasket. They knew the tournament schedule. They had months to figure out how to handle this respectfully. Instead, they chose the most callous, most heartless approach possible. They let Julie Van Loo sacrifice her championship celebration. They let her spend 18 hours on a plane thinking she was coming home to her team, and then they blindsided her with a social media announcement.
We knew after the win against the Storm on Sunday that the Valkyries were going to need to create 3 roster spots for Julie Van Loo, Janelle Salon, and Cecilia Zandalicini. However, they decided to go in a different direction and waive Julie Van Loo. Obviously, nothing against Van Loo. She's a great player, a fan favorite inside of Valhalla. But they were giving important minutes to Caitlin Chin, and you could see the coaching staff give her more and more of a role on this team. And when you're thinking about the moves that the Valkyries have to make, they're not looking just for this year, but for the future of their franchise. And Caitlin Chin is able to offer a couple things that Julie Van Loo might not, in terms of how many years she's going to play in the WNBA and how they can mold her.
The response from fans has been swift and brutal. Social media is exploding with people calling for boycotts, not just of the Valkyries, but of the entire WNBA. Comments are pouring in, demanding that if this is how the league treats its players, then maybe it doesn't deserve fan support. One fan wrote, "Julie Van Loo deserved better. TBH, any player that this has ever happened to deserves better. Being abruptly waived or traded is messed up." Others are pointing out that this kind of treatment is exactly why the WNBA struggled for so many years. Because instead of building a culture of respect and professionalism, they've allowed franchises to treat players like they're lucky just to be there. The timing couldn't be worse for the league. The WNBA Players Association opted out of their current collective bargaining agreement in October 2024, meaning negotiations for a new deal are happening right now. Players are demanding better working conditions, higher salaries, and more respect. The Julie Van Loo situation is going to be Exhibit A in why those changes are desperately needed.
She was on a plane. Like, first of all, no one wants to get on a 12-hour flight. No one wants to get on a 12-hour flight. If she's going to get picked up by the Chicago Sky or something, that becomes an 8 or 9 hour flight. Like, the Bay Area were all about loyalty, period. Like, sticking with Chen, I mean, Caitlin Chen played one good game, I guess. But it's the timing, manners, communicate, reflects badly in reputation. Future players will think twice.
Through all of this chaos, through all of the fan outrage and media criticism, where has Commissioner Engelbert been? Conspicuously silent. No statements about player treatment. No promises to investigate how this situation was handled. No acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, letting a European champion get humiliated on social media isn't great for the league's image. This is a commissioner who makes approximately $3 million, 0 cents annually, and has overseen the WNBA's revenue growth from $60 million, 0 cents, to $120 million, 0 cents. She's been listed as one of Fortune's most powerful women. She's supposedly the visionary leader who's guiding the WNBA into a new era of prosperity. But when it comes to actually protecting the players who make that prosperity possible, she's nowhere to be found.
You know what I'm saying? Now, everybody in the chat be trying to fire you every week. Not me. Mine's kind of like once a season. You know what I mean? Because I understand it's hard to run a business. I also
because actually she needs to have a sit-down discussion with those officials as well, because it's not consistent. And I want to figure out the challenges, the reviews is taking 5 and 8 and 10 minutes, and it was simply never that serious. It's time to put your big girl panties on, Kathy. It's time to put your big girl panties on and have some real conversations. You need to sit down with them scheduling people next year, because I'm tired of watching the Misses versus Liberty, because I'm actually trying to figure out why exactly y'all don't even give them a chance to get better. At least if you had scheduled Liberty Misses 1 month and then, the next month and the next month, that's fine. But y'all don't even give the Misses a chance to rest. They don't even have a chance to get their game plan together. They just got beat and then they had to go back and do it again 2 days later. That's messed up.
The Julie Van Loo situation isn't happening in a vacuum. This is a league that has consistently struggled with how it treats its marquee players. Remember all the controversy around Caitlin Clark's treatment during her rookie season? The hard fouls, the apparent targeting, the feeling among fans that the league wasn't doing enough to protect its biggest star? The WNBA has a pattern of shooting itself in the foot just when things are going well. They finally have mainstream attention thanks to Clark. They finally have television deals worth real money. They finally have fans who are passionate and engaged. And then they allow stories like Julie Van Loo to happen, reminding everyone that underneath all the growth and excitement, this is still a league that treats players like they should be grateful for scraps.
Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. Boston so far this year has been having a spectacular season. Her efficiency is up. Also, just the domination in the paint is crazy. I think her going against one of the best bigs in the league right now and the possible MVP candidate for the year with Nafisa, I think that's going to be a very exciting matchup to watch. I think the big question for the Fever is who's going to step up besides those two. They're definitely going to need contributions off the bench. Looking at Minnesota has a great bench.
The fallout from the Julie Van Loo situation is going to extend far beyond one player's heartbreak. This is going to be a defining moment for how the WNBA is perceived by current players, potential future players, and most importantly, the fans who ultimately determine the league's success. European players are going to think twice about committing to WNBA teams if this is how they might be treated. International talent is going to wonder if American franchises see them as real people or just roster filler. And fans, the same fans who have driven the WNBA to unprecedented heights, they're going to remember that when the league had a choice between doing the right thing and taking the easy way out, they chose cruelty. At the end of the day, this all comes back to leadership. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has overseen tremendous growth in the WNBA, but growth built on a foundation of disrespect and poor player treatment is growth that can collapse overnight.
It's about the Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. I ain't no Kathy, baby. We're on the same page. You say broke bitches ain't allowed no more. Come on now. Don't make me put on this damn New York dress.
The Julie Van Loo situation exposed everything that's still wrong with the WNBA. It showed that despite all the progress, despite all the record viewership and sold-out arenas, the league still doesn't understand that players are human beings who deserve basic dignity and respect. Engelbert can't hide behind roster limits or salary cap excuses. She can't pretend this was just an unfortunate business decision. This was a failure of leadership, a failure of vision, and a failure to understand what the WNBA needs to do to maintain the trust and support of its fans. The Caitlin Clark effect might have saved the WNBA from irrelevance, but stories like Julie Van Loo could just as easily send it right back into the shadows.
Now, on one side, I can see how the Valkyries wanted to keep everything the same, especially right now with how well they've been doing. But at the same time, to cut her when she just won Eurobasket, there's an easier way to do that. And I get everything is a business, but that had to feel like a complete blindside for her. And the fact that she came home too, they could have at least told her before she flew back that she was waived so that she can just take time with her family, also celebrate Eurobasket and do all of that. But unfortunately that didn't happen, so I'm a little disappointed in the Valkyries for that. And again, I understand it's a business, but she definitely didn't deserve that.
Commissioner Engelbert better hope that fans are more forgiving than they seem right now, because the alternative, a fan revolt against a league that treats its players like disposable commodities, could undo all the progress that's been made. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They can choose to be a league that respects its players and builds lasting success on a foundation of dignity and professionalism, or they can continue down this path of treating players like robots and hope that Caitlin Clark's brilliance is enough to cover up all their other failures. Based on how they handled Julie Van Loo, it's pretty clear which direction they're headed. And Commissioner Engelbert? She's the one who's going to have to answer for it when the fans decide they've had enough. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.